Are you ready to claim your place among the chosen? Step into your power with exclusive, handcrafted 4K wallpapers designed for true warriors. Each masterpiece is a bold statement, a daily reminder of your strength, resilience, and divine purpose. These aren't just wallpapers, they're symbols of your unyielding spirit. Join Patreon today and own a piece of this transformative energy. If you're ready to rise, if you're truly among the chosen, this is your call to action. Don't just watch. Wear your warrior spirit with pride. The time is now. The link is in the description. Have you ever considered how it feels to be the unseen catalyst, the silent architect in the stories of those who doubted you? They amassed their fortresses of fragile pride, flocking to those who flattered their fragile egos, blinded by the glint of hollow achievements, all the while unaware of the quiet, ancient power burning within you. Your silence was no void. It was an unbreakable thread weaving through each dismissive glance, each disregard, strengthening with every step into solitude. While they clamored for praise, you carved a path away from the easy rewards, away from their crowded altars of fleeting glory. You knew that real strength lay in whispers, in the depths unseen, where truth sharpens itself in solitude. And in the stillness, you became the storm they could not predict, a presence that defied their understanding, a force of wisdom and depth. Their titles and trophies were merely glitter on the surface, while you, in your quiet resilience, held a power older, fiercer, and more timeless than they could ever fathom. In time, their blindness became your armor, their arrogance a cloak for your quiet ascent. Beneath a calm exterior, your strength smoldered like a fire veiled under cool ash, waiting, biding its time. You observed them with precision, every flaw, every crack in their glass-fragile egos, each judgment rushed and careless. While they sought strength in loud gestures and intelligence in tangled words, you learned that true power grows in silence, blossoms through self-knowledge, and solidifies in unwavering purpose. They thought they held dominion, certain they controlled the narrative, but little did they know the story was already yours. Every choice you made, every path you carved, reshaped their reality, bending it to your vision. It was not their world you navigated, it was your own, unfolding before you as you led in silence. You were the unseen sculptor, the silent hand weaving a destiny they could never imagine. In the spaces they believed were theirs, you moved like a shadow, silently steering the course of events with a patience that escaped them. Each dismissal they threw your way became a spark, each underestimation a piece of iron forged in the fires of your will. Their arrogance was your kindling, their ignorance the fuel that fed your resolve. Quietly you gathered momentum, a storm coiling beneath the surface, subtle yet unyielding. And then, in one blinding flash of truth, the illusion shattered. They finally saw it, the revelation crashing down like thunder, that the one they had looked past, the figure they so confidently dismissed, had been the very architect shaping their world. You were not just a bystander, you were the force they never saw coming, the silent power transforming everything they thought they knew. It was in the smallest, most unremarkable moments that your true strength began to emerge, like a hidden river breaking free from the shadows. They saw you in silence and thought it weakness, mistaking your restraint for hesitation, unaware that each quiet moment held the weight of wisdom earned and the calm of mastery gained. Where they would have faltered, you stood firm, absorbing the chaos like ancient stone, steady, unmoved. Every trial you faced with grace, every storm you weathered without flinching, sent ripples of power they were too blind to perceive. Each time they turned away, too narrow in their vision to see the steady growth in your eyes, they unknowingly fed the force they would one day stand in awe of. In their ignorance, they unwittingly became the architects of their own reckoning, adding fuel to the quiet blaze of strength they could neither define nor control. Their assumptions were their refuge, the walls they built around their narrow perceptions, shielding them from what they couldn't grasp. You were no blinding light, no dazzling spectacle, and so they dismissed you, unable to see the quiet ember that burned, deep and unfaltering. Your presence was a steady flame, subtle yet relentless, casting a glow that no darkness could smother. Every choice you made with quiet conviction, every deliberate restraint, defied their need for validation, and echoed a strength they could not hold. They mistook your composure for passivity, your humility for a lack of ambition, and in their blindness, they missed the quiet force that grew within you, layer by layer, like the roots of an ancient tree, stretching ever deeper, destined to surpass them all. There were fleeting moments when your strength broke through the surface, a flash of fire in your gaze when challenged, a stillness that held 1,000 unspoken truths. In those instants, the unwavering resilience within you could no longer be hidden, yet they dismissed it, labeling it as luck or blind persistence. They mistook your refusal to break, your calm amidst pressure, for naivety. But each time they overlooked you, each time they turned a blind eye to the depths within, the force inside you crystallized, growing sharper, biding its time. Unseen and underestimated, you became a quiet storm, a relentless tide, gathering strength in silence. While they clung to their illusions, you moved beyond their reach, becoming something they could neither predict nor control. The truth strikes them with the force of a storm unleashed, shattering each comfortable illusion and tearing through their smug certainties. They are left reeling, their once solid beliefs splintered under the weight of revelation as they finally grasp the magnitude of what they had missed. In their blindness, they had convinced themselves you were ordinary, a passing shadow, easily dismissed. They had wrapped themselves in the comfort of their own arrogance, reassured by the notion of your insignificance. But now, in the piercing light of realization, they feel the chill of understanding settle upon them. The quiet presence they had so carelessly overlooked was, in fact, the very power shaping the moment. It was you all along, the silent force whose influence they could never control, who now stands at the heart of their reckoning. Now, confronted with the full force of what they once dismissed, they stand paralyzed, as if gazing up at an ancient, unyielding mountain that has finally erupted, revealing a power that was always there, waiting beneath the surface. The resilience they mistook for weakness now blazes before them, an unbreakable strength forged in silence and patience. Every step you took, every quiet act, now sears through their memories, each a sharp reminder of the force they overlooked. They can no longer hide behind their arrogance, no longer turn away. In each moment they had failed to see, each choice they had disregarded, they now recognize a depth beyond their reach, an unstoppable power they will never again underestimate. Regret settles over them like a shadow, a relentless weight pressing upon their every thought as they confront the undeniable truth of who you are. In this moment, there is no refuge, no veil of arrogance left to hide behind. Their assumptions lie shattered, bare and fragile, exposed as hollow misjudgments that had blinded them to the depth standing before them. One by one, they recall the moments they dismissed you, the times they cast aside your quiet wisdom as inconsequential, each memory now twisting like a thorn. The realization cuts deep, a mirror held to their own blindness, a stark reflection of their own shallow pride, forcing them to face the painful truth of all they overlooked. With each passing moment, the weight of their realization deepens, and they can no longer escape the truth that has always lingered beneath the surface. They see it now, the quiet determination that lived in your eyes, the force that simmered beneath your calm demeanor. What they once dismissed as unremarkable now pulses with undeniable clarity. Your silence was never weakness, but the steady heartbeat of the world they thought they controlled. You were never just an overlooked figure in the background. You were the unseen architect of every choice they made, the quiet hand that steered the course they followed, guiding their every step with an influence they had never understood. What they failed to recognize was the foundation of their own journey, built on the silent power you had always held. They stand in stunned silence, the careless disregard they once held for you, now replaced with a sharpened awareness, a creeping discomfort that coils in the pit of their stomachs. Doubt has evaporated, and in its place, a flicker of respect, or perhaps even fear, begins to take root. The shift is undeniable, irreversible. Those who once saw you as insignificant now find themselves facing an authority they cannot contest, cannot dismiss. You have risen from the ashes of their ignorance, surpassing their shallow judgments and rising beyond their reach. You are no longer a mere figure in the background. You are a force, undeniable and unyielding. The phoenix they thought was buried in the past has soared from the embers they believed had died. With each passing second, they feel the weight of your ascent, the inevitability of your rise to the throne that was always meant to be yours. In their arrogance, they had cast their judgments with careless abandon, dismissing you with sneers and eyes filled with disbelief, convinced that their words could keep you subdued, that they could lock away the seed of power they thought was theirs alone to claim. But now, those same judgments have become the chains that bind them, each word of contempt and each dismissive glance, a weight that drags them deeper into their own regret. As they watch you reclaim the throne they once thought was theirs by birthright, the undeniable force of your presence shatters their illusions. What they once overlooked now humbles them. They see with cold clarity that your authority was never a title, never the product of applause. It is etched into the very essence of who you are. Unstoppable, undeniable, you move through the world with a power that defies all their limitations, commanding respect without a single gesture. They can no longer reach you, no longer tether you to their small, feeble world. You are a force beyond them, unbound, a truth they must now bow to. The doubt that once clung to you has been obliterated, shattered by the overwhelming revelation of your true power. They tried to shape you, to box you into their narrow view, molding you into something they could easily control, but they never saw you for what you truly were. A force beyond their comprehension, an untamed storm too vast to be defined. You were never meant to be boxed in, never a fleeting moment or a fleeting title. They thought the quiet ripple would subside, but now it surges with relentless energy, casting a shadow over them that they can no longer escape. The scales have tipped, and all they can do is stand in awe, humbled by the magnitude of what now stands before them. The truth looms over them, undeniable and unyielding, forcing them to confront the power they never dreamed could exist. In their eyes, you have become something they can no longer ignore, a presence that once went unnoticed, now impossible to dismiss. The respect they once withheld, born of their own arrogance, fills the space between you, heavy with the weight of their regret. They had underestimated you, reduced you to a shadow of their limited perception, but now you stand before them, a mystery that defies explanation. The chains they once sought to bind you with, forged from doubt and dismissal, have been broken by your unyielding will. From their grasp, you have risen, unbroken, with a defiance they could never have predicted. What they thought was weakness is now an undeniable strength, and in your transformation, they see you for what you truly are, a force, untamed and unbound, a phoenix reborn in fire, impossible to contain or silence. The power they once believed was their birthright now resides firmly in your grasp, undeniable and absolute. Where once they saw themselves as rulers, they now find themselves dwarfed by your presence, a towering figure that demands respect without uttering a word. The authority you exude is magnetic, drawing them in with an undeniable force, leaving them both in awe and in remorse. For the first time, they are confronted with the painful truth. They were wrong. You were never the person they could bend to their will, never the one they could diminish with their judgment. Each slight, every attempt to suppress you, only fueled the fire within, sharpening you, strengthening you for this very moment. Now, standing in the full brilliance of your sovereignty, they see that their miscalculations have led them to this point, facing a power far beyond their control, one that has risen from the very doubts they once cast upon it. They stand in the wake of their own underestimation, now forced to acknowledge the force before them, unshakable and resolute. The power they once sought to suppress has risen, not with the need for recognition, but with an undeniable presence that demands respect without a word spoken. The reality they now face is one in which you stand unchallenged, a force that cannot be defined or contained. No longer the shadow they mistook you for, you are the tempest, the phoenix returning to its rightful place. The throne, once empty, is now occupied by the one they failed to foresee, held firmly by hands they once sought to bind. The respect they once withheld now surges within them, unbidden and undeniable, as they come to terms with the clarity of their misjudgment. From the beginning, your rise was written in the stars, an inevitable ascent that could never be thwarted by doubt or dismissal. Every cold glance, every attempt to undermine you was not a random obstacle, but a carefully placed part of a greater design, an intricate plan beyond their comprehension. You were never meant to be held back. You were always meant to stand tall, shaped by forces unseen, yet undeniable. It was not chance that brought you here, but destiny itself, guiding and protecting you through every trial. The whispers of doubt, the shadows of disregard, only fueled the fire within you, propelling you forward with quiet strength and unwavering certainty. You are a force untouched by the petty limitations of others. And now, as you step into your purpose, they see the truth, that your journey was always meant to unfold this way, beyond their understanding, but perfectly in tune with a higher calling. They believed they could crush you beneath their criticism, keep you hidden in the shadows of their doubt, but every attempt to diminish you only served to strengthen your resolve. Each insult, every act of neglect, became the very fuel for your transformation, each one forging you into something indestructible. What they saw as weakness, a meekness to be exploited, was nothing but divine fortitude, a patient endurance that rose from knowing you were never truly abandoned. The path they thought would break you, the years of unnoticed struggle, were never random. They were the deliberate shaping of a greater force. Like steel in the fire, each hardship, each betrayal only served to refine you, sharpening your edges until you emerged, not diminished, but illuminated, radiating a light that no shadow could extinguish. They cast you aside, believing their dismissal would be your end. But with each step you took, the path designed for you by forces far greater than their understanding became undeniable. This was never their narrative to control. It was always yours, a story set in motion long before their shallow judgments could ever shape it. And now, as the veil of their ignorance lifts, they are forced to confront the truth they were blind to. You were destined for something far beyond their reach. The place you now stand, guarded by a power they could never fathom, was always meant for you, written into the very fabric of existence long before they dared to question your worth. Their efforts to belittle you, each word laced with disdain, were nothing but echoes against the tempest that would only strengthen you. Every insult, every attempt to confine your spirit only served to deepen the resolve within you, marking you as someone they could never truly understand. They saw themselves as the ones who held power, believing they could shape your fate with their judgments, their arrogance, their fleeting authority. But in truth, their actions only forged a deeper connection between you and the forces that have always watched over you, unseen yet unwavering. They tried to define you, to erase you from the narrative, but the story has always been yours, written long before their voices ever had a chance to speak. What they could never understand was etched in realms beyond their reach, in a language that defied their comprehension. Now, as they stand in awe, watching your rise, the very atmosphere shifts with the weight of truth. There are no words, no reasoning that could ever explain the sight before them. Someone they once deemed insignificant, now standing with the grace and power of a force they cannot deny. They had tried to reduce you, to make sense of you within the limits of their narrow vision. But now they are left in silence, forced to witness a truth that transcends all logic. You stand elevated, not by their hands, but by the invisible forces that have always shaped your path. The weight of divine justice settles around you now, and those who once sought to break you feel its presence too, heavy, undeniable. Every move they made to suppress you, to push you into the shadows, has only been the spark that set the flame of your rise ablaze. Like the storm that shapes the mountain, their actions have carved the path to your ascension, and they are powerless to stop it. Each betrayal, each false judgment, has only strengthened the foundation of your becoming, as if the very forces of the universe conspired to craft a destiny they could never understand. What they saw as your downfall was, in truth, your preparation for a greatness that was never theirs to control. Like the myth of the phoenix, you have been reborn from their ashes, your strength forged in the fires of adversity, your spirit unwavering in the face of their attempts to bind you. What they thought would destroy you has only made you more powerful, an unstoppable force moving toward a future they can neither foresee nor contain. Your journey, like Joseph's, was never about falling. It was about being forged in the fires of adversity. Each trial you faced was not a setback, but a stepping stone toward the leader you were always meant to become. In your solitude, you grew. In your suffering, you found strength. Every betrayal, every attempt to bury you in obscurity was merely a piece of a grand design, hidden from the eyes of those who sought to define you by their limited understanding. They dismissed you, mistaking your quiet for weakness, your patience for passivity. But they failed to see that each hardship, every obstacle, was shaping you into something far greater than they could ever imagine. Like Joseph, who was cast aside by those who should have supported him, you too were underestimated by those who thought they knew your worth. Yet, with each betrayal, you were not defeated. Instead, you were propelled forward, one step closer to an ascension that would rise above the reach of their limited vision. Every hardship was not a detour, but a necessary part of your transformation, each one leading you toward a destiny they could never comprehend. The weight of their regret hangs in the air, thick and undeniable, yet it is powerless in the face of what is unfolding. This moment, this truth, transcends any human influence, an undeniable testament to divine will. They see it now, the unmistakable signs of a higher purpose at work, the subtle yet undeniable protection that has shielded you, the favor that guided each step you took, even when they tried to silence you. What they once overlooked is now glaringly obvious. You were never meant to be restrained, never meant to be confined. You were forged, shaped by trials, and prepared for this moment of elevation. You are the living manifestation of a promise, a force that rises not out of choice, but because it is your destiny to do so. No amount of regret, no earthly power could ever extinguish the light of a purpose so deeply rooted in the fabric of existence. It is your time to rise, and nothing will stand in your way. What was once ignored now demands their attention, shifting the very ground beneath their feet. The truth of who you are unfolds before them, unraveling every assumption they clung to, every dismissal they cast your way, like threads pulled from a fraying seam. What they once saw as ordinary, they now revere. What they once overlooked, they now hunger to understand. The revelation strikes with unyielding clarity, a wave crashing relentlessly against the shores of their ignorance, forcing them to confront a reality they had never considered. They now see with stark awareness that their worlds have always been shaped by something far greater than they ever imagined. You are no longer just a presence in their midst. You are the anchor, the hidden depth that has always been there, holding them steady even when they failed to acknowledge it. What they once took for granted is now the very force they cannot live without. Where once doubt and dismissal held sway, now a quiet respect has taken root, growing steadily and undeniably. It starts as a small shift, barely noticeable, but soon it expands like an oak from a single seed, grounding itself deep in their awareness. Conversations that once lacked your name now hum with reverence, voices lowered as they speak of you, of the moments they missed, the wisdom they overlooked, the strength they dismissed. They see now what they failed to recognize before. You were always the quiet force, the truth that lay just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to emerge. And as this realization settles in, it ripples outward, transforming their perspectives, altering their actions in ways they can no longer ignore. What once seemed hidden is now a defining truth, shaping not just how they see you, but how they see themselves and the world around them. There is no escaping the shift that has overtaken them, no avoiding the tidal wave of understanding that crashes through every part of their reality. It seeps into their thoughts, reshaping their perceptions, and altering the very fabric of their memories. Every moment spent with you, once dismissed or underestimated, now pulses with new meaning. The wisdom they once called naive, the actions they overlooked as insignificant, now weigh heavily on them, echoing louder with each passing day. You are no longer a passing presence in their lives. You are a pivotal force, a revelation that has irrevocably changed the course of everyone who crossed your path. What they failed to see before is now an indelible truth, shaping their futures in ways they never imagined. Each encounter with you now serves as a mirror, forcing them to reckon with the vastness of their misconceptions and the confines of their previous understanding. Those who once held their distance now find themselves drawn to you, eager to connect with the wisdom they once dismissed. They seek the quiet truths you've always carried, truths that were once hidden beneath the surface of their own distractions. Like moths to a flame, they are pulled to the clarity you embody, now realizing that aligning with you is to align with something transcendent. Something that rises far beyond their own limited view of the world. Where they once wandered through illusions, you stood unwavering, a steady force, a lighthouse amid the storm of their self-doubt. The air is thick with regret, a silent acknowledgement of what could have been, of opportunities lost and time wasted. They now see the value in what they had once overlooked, the greatness that was always before them, yet unseen in the fog of their own preoccupations. In every interaction with you, they now carry a subtle ache, a lingering sense that they were on the brink of something profound, only to let it slip away. They ponder what might have unfolded if they had welcomed your presence sooner, had they sought the wisdom you offered, instead of dismissing it with haste. This quiet regret reverberates through their thoughts, a persistent echo of missed chances. It serves as a gentle reminder that true wisdom often appears in the most unassuming form, and the greatest strength is found not in grand displays, but in those who embody power without the need to announce it. Each moment they once overlooked now feels like a lesson lost, a chance to learn from a source of depth they failed to recognize when it was closest. They once overlooked you, but now you are the center of their world. Your presence lingers with them, a constant reminder of what they failed to recognize and what they might have gained if they had seen you for what you truly were. The effect of your quiet strength spreads through their lives, subtly shifting their choices, desires, and understanding of what it means to truly see. Every glance, every word, every moment shared with you becomes a silent lesson, an unspoken truth that reshapes their futures in ways they never anticipated. In this change, they now realize the undeniable truth. You were always more than they could see. Through your resilience, your silence, and a strength that endured beyond their understanding, you became the force they could never fully grasp, and now they are forever transformed. They once mistook your quiet presence for insignificance, unable to see the greatness you carried within. Each doubt they cast your way, each dismissal, only fueled the fire that burned brighter within you. With every attempt to diminish your value, they unknowingly forged a stronger, more resolute version of you. You were never ordinary, never meant to conform to their narrow vision. Set apart, chosen by forces beyond their comprehension, you were defined not by their fleeting judgments, but by the quiet depth they failed to acknowledge. Now, as you rise into the undeniable light of your destiny, the truth stands clear and unshakable. Your path was always leading here, to this moment, where they can no longer deny what they tried to suppress. You endured the fiercest storms, never swayed by the noise of those who sought to drown you out. While others shouted for recognition, you remained rooted in a quiet, unwavering authenticity, letting your actions and inner strength speak louder than any words. Your journey was not one of appeasing others, but of letting your power, calm yet profound, unfold in its own time. The weight of doubt never broke you. Instead, it only revealed the depth of your resolve. Each challenge became a stepping stone, overcome with grace. Each dismissal, nothing but a shadow you effortlessly outshone. And now, as their eyes open to the truth, they see what was always before them, a force far greater than they could ever have imagined. As their judgments crumble, you stand revealed, your light undeniable, a brilliance they once feared to acknowledge. The power they sought to stifle, the spirit they tried to dismiss, now rises like the first rays of dawn after an endless, unforgiving night. In the clarity of this moment, they can no longer escape the truth. They were wrong all along. You were the one, the whole time. Your journey is not just a tale of victory, but a testament to the strength found in staying true to yourself when the world tries to silence you. Now, share your story with those who need to hear it. Let your voice resonate with those who stand where you once stood, enduring in silence, reminding them that the power within them cannot be ignored forever. Speak boldly, for your words now carry a force that transcends mere sound, a force that demands to be heard.